is Rachel, and I'm here with the 8 books that I read in the month of April. First up is Girl Stolen by April Henry. This follows the story of a girl who is blind, and she has developed this pretty serious chest cold, and her stepmom has taken her to go to the doctor. While the girl is kind of sleeping in the back of the car, the stepmom runs into the pharmacy to get her medication, and a boy comes out of nowhere, gets in the car, and drives off. He's trying to steal the car, but he has no idea that she's in the back. And obviously chaos ensues when he realizes she's back there. He feels like he can't let her go because he's gonna get caught, but he really wanted this car to impress his dad, who is pretty much a bad guy. So he decides to head back to his dad's house and let him figure out how to handle the situation. But when they get back, of course, you meet the dad and his kind of conspirators, and they're just not real great guys. So they decide they're going to use this girl for ransom because her dad is involved with Nike, and it comes to a head pretty quickly because, I mean, it is just a short teen novel, and obviously, as in most kidnap stories, not everybody turns out the way you think they would. Some guys are bad guys, some guys are good guys, and I feel like this was not the most suspenseful book that I've ever read, but it did keep me turning the pages until the end, and I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. I thought it was okay, but not the best mystery kidnap book that I've read. Next, I read Miss Mayhem, the second novel in Rachel Hawkins' Rebel Belle series, and it basically takes off right where the last one left off, and I don't want to give you too many spoilers, but for Rebel Belle, if you have not read it, it's kind of like Southern Buffy. This girl gets powers via the janitor in her school bathroom. It's as creepy as it sounds, really. And she is basically forced to supervise and take care of and protect her arch nemesis. However, they get to know each other a little bit better over this process, and you know how those things go. And in the second book, it picks up right where it left off. And again, I'm not going to tell you too much, but for me, and I've read several reviews that do kind of agree with this, this seemed like maybe more of a bridge book than what we needed. For me, it was okay. I gave it 2.5, maybe 3 stars, but to be honest, I can't tell you too much of what happened in this book because it just wasn't that memorable. There was one twist that I kind of could see coming, but I'm like, oh, please don't do that. Don't. And it was like a love thing, and I'm like, oh, come on. And of course, it just makes things even more complicated, but with all of it, it was just a little too much, I thought, with the romances, and I was kind of turned off by the end of this book, and I wasn't super excited to read the last book. But I did, and I'll get to that in a minute in my wrap-up. Next up, I read The Cuckoos Calling by Robert Galbraith, aka J.K. Rowling. I read this with my mom, and I will say that overall, the plot of this wasn't too bad, but it was just too long. I felt like we interviewed everybody in this murder mystery like 8 times, and I totally saw what was gonna happen, and I think if this was like half as long as it would have been so much better, because I lost the suspense. Like, I just didn't care anymore after some point. And you really need to care in the murder mystery books. But if you're unfamiliar, this follows the story of a model who apparently commits suicide by jumping out of her hotel suite. However, the detective in this series, Cormoran Strike, is hired because somebody does not think it was suicide. They believe it was murder, and we go on, you know, this interrogation spree, and for most of these pages, we're just interrogating people, and it seems like it takes forever to get to the climax at the end, and by then you already know what's gonna happen, and you just kind of stop caring, and it all happened just so fast. I wish it would have been, like I said, half this length with a lot more time spent at the end, and I don't know. I will say that I absolutely loved his assistant in this book. I just thought she was a lot of fun. I probably will read the second one, but if I like that one about as much as I like this one, I probably will stop there. I gave this one 2.5 stars. Next up, I read the Asylum Novellas by Madeline Rowe. This contained the Scarlets, the Bone Artist, and the Warden, and basically there is a short story in this collection for each of the villains in the Asylum novels. There is Asylum, Sanctum, and Catacomb. And I'd read all three of those, so I wanted to read these. And I kind of wish I hadn't, because this was not so great. Overall, I gave this collection 2 stars. It did give you more information about some of the side characters, but it just seems so irrelevant to the way the books were. It just seemed like this was literally just some more information to put out. So this is absolutely not needed to read the books at all, which I don't really like. I wanted it to really make the experience a little bit better and possibly even be mandatory. Like if you had to read these to get something that would be more beneficial than just having this extra book floating around. I don't know. I don't really get this as much. I wanted more from it, I guess, and I just didn't get it. So I read it. I gave it 2 out of 5 stars. Next up, I read Volume 4 and Volume 5 of the Amulet series by Kazu Kibushi. And I will say that I actually gave Volume 4 4 out of 5 stars. This is probably one of my favorite in the Amulet series yet. I love the suspense. I really liked how all these stone keepers just dropped in the middle of this nowhere land in this kind of like imaginary forest, and it was very like Hunger Gamesy. I really liked that. I liked how they led you one way and then whoosh, it took a turn the other way, and I just liked that. I felt like this one was really unexpected, especially with the trajectory that they've been on. So I gave this one 4 out of 5 stars. However, when I got to number 5, I was really disappointed. I thought this was probably my least favorite one yet. I gave it 2 out of 5 stars. So I don't know. I do have volumes 6 and 7 on my TBR for this month, so hopefully they'll go back the other way. They'll be better, but yes, I read these 2. Next, I read Wolf by Wolf by Ryan Groudon. I read this with some students in my school for our little book club, and I loved it. By far, my favorite book that I read this month. I gave it 4.5 out of 5 stars. The only reason I took off a half star is because even though I understand why that fantastical element is needed to make this book work, I wish we didn't need it. I wish the book could have been just without the fantasy element, just strictly an alternate history. For me, for some reason, I think that would have made it a stronger book, but that aside, I absolutely love this book. I thought it was so good. I really kept turning the pages over and over. I mean, I just had to know what was going to happen. I liked the characters. There were so many distinct characters in this that it was awesome. I love when you can really get a feel for the characters and you don't have to keep looking to see who said what, that you can tell by the way they talk and by the way that they act and the way they move who is doing whatever it is in the book, where you can just tell by their mannerisms. And I feel like that was true for this book. It was so, so good. And if you have not heard about this yet, first of all, you definitely need to read it. I would highly recommend it. But it is an alternate history where the Axis powers have won World War II. Ooh, that's a tongue twister. And basically all of Europe and Asia is now like Germany and Japan. That's it. And I can't remember what they called Japan. It was like the Greater Circle of the Pacific or something weird. But basically they're in control of everything. And basically to gloat to everybody around that they've conquered, they have this motorcycle race that goes through all of their newly acquired territory, and kind of like as a victory lap. And it involves motorcycle races, yeah. And our main character decides to enter the race as last year's victor in order to meet and hopefully kill Hitler. I mean, that's an awesome plot to a book. And it was really, really good. I cannot wait for the second one to come out. I wouldn't say it's like a super cliffhangery, because you know there's another one coming, so it makes sense. But I will say that the ending I thought was a little... I wanted more, but hopefully we will get that in Blood for Blood, which is out later this year. And the last book that I read this month was Lady Renegades, the third and final book in the Rebel Belle series by Rachel Hawkins. And I gave this one a 2 out of 5 stars. I felt it was just really anticlimactic. I don't know. I just really didn't care anymore what happened to these characters, and it just made me kind of sad. I was not 100% crazy about Rebel Belle to begin with, but that was definitely the best book in the series. I think it probably should have just ended there. I just was not crazy about this one. So I think Rebel Belle I gave 3.5 stars. Miss Mayhem, the second one, I gave 2.5, 3 stars, and this one got 2. So for me, it just kind of went downhill. I'm glad there's, like, this is the end of it, because I probably wouldn't read another one in this series if there was. So I think, though, that I would like to give another Rachel Hawkins book a try, because I got to listen to her talk, and I just think I would really like her writing, but maybe this just wasn't the story for me. So I'm definitely going to look into reading another one of her books. So those are all the titles that I read this month. It was not a super great reading month for me, but I think May is going to be my month. I've already read 2 books so far in May, and yes, it is only the 2nd, so already both of them good, so I think May is going to be awesome. So stay tuned for that TBR, and thank you so much for watching tonight. If you read anything good in April, feel free to let me know down below. If you like this video, give me a thumbs up, please, and go ahead and hit that subscription button to be notified of when I post new videos. And that is all tonight, so thanks for watching, and I'll see you again soon with another video. Bye for now.